An octave is a range of 8 notes in a scale. C major scale on the 5th string, for example, has the scale tones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is the same note as 1. If they were lettered, named by letter, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, starts on C, and the 8th note is C. Played in first position, the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, spans 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A scale is a group of notes which, when played in linear order, that is, going consistently up or down, splits the octave into a number of parts. The major scale splits the octave into two fret intervals, a 1 fret interval, 3 2-fret intervals, and a 1 fret interval, called whole steps for the 2 fret intervals and half steps for the 1 fret intervals. Its pattern is 2 whole steps and a half step, then 3 whole steps and a half step. A common pentatonic scale, the minor pentatonic scale, has some larger intervals. This one is a 3 fret interval from the first tone to the next in the scale, then 2 fret intervals or whole steps, then another 3 fret interval, then a whole step. The 3 fret interval could be called a step and a half, this being a step and this being a half step, or it could be called a minor third. So in terms of thirds, in terms of minor third and whole step, the scale is minor third, whole step, minor third, and whole step. Comparing that scale to the major scale, this was the C major scale. All these examples are in C, by the way. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, making the C major scale. And this scale, the minor pentatonic, the common minor pentatonic, in relation to the major scale, is tones 1, and then rather than 3, it's flat 3. This would be 3, 1, 2, 3, and this is flat 3. So the second tone is flat 3. The third tone is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 was the major scale, and this is that note, 4. So far it's 1, flat 3, 4, then 5, as in the major scale, and then this would be 6 in the major scale, this would be 7, and the pentatonic scale, the minor pentatonic, has flat 7. So 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and then 1. Again, 7 would be here, 8 or 1 would be here in the major scale, and this common minor pentatonic had a flat 7. So here's 8, 7, flat 7, 1 fret that way. With the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, it can also be conceived that one of the notes other than C could be the focal point or tone center. For example, if the C major scale were considered going up indefinitely, at least until you run out of frets, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, D, E, F, and so on. If the scale were played from D to D, still with the same notes, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, implying that D is the focal point or tone center, then it creates another scale in a sense, called a mode. So D to D is D Dorian mode. And from the second step of any major scale, if it's played for 1 octave from scale steps 2 up to 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. It's Dorian mode, named after whatever note was on 2. Likewise, there's a mode on each of the other steps of the scale. On the third step, it's called Phrygian, if it's the tone center. So in C, that would be E Phrygian. And the fourth step of any major scale is called Lydian. In C major scale, that would be F Lydian. And the fifth step for any major scale, Mixolydian. In C major scale, that would be G Mixolydian. And the sixth step of any major scale uses a tone center, Aeolian. In the C major scale, that would be A Aeolian. And the seventh step of any major scale, Locrian. In the C major scale's seventh step is B, so it would make B Locrian. From, if this is 1 in the C major scale, for example, this would be 7 below it. B Locrian would be 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are other scale types. For instance, this one is all whole steps, so it's called the whole tone scale. There's the chromatic scale, which is all half steps, called chromatic because it colors or fills in between the notes of other scales, making and every fret pattern. There's the diminished half-whole scale, which is a collection of half-step, whole step, half-step, whole step, half-step, whole step, half-step, and so on. Or harmonic minor. For this, let's play from E to E. And compare, that's E harmonic minor, compare it to E major. E major would have 1, 2, 3 whole steps, then 3 to 4 a half step, 4 to 5 a whole step, 5 to 6 a whole step, 6 to 7 a whole step, and 7 to 1 a half step. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. But E harmonic minor would have a flat 3, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, and a flat 6. Flat 6, 7, 1. Giving this 3 fret interval between the 6th and 7th notes. A flat 6 to 7. That could also be conceived as being the G major scale from scale tone 1. Here it is G, the same note as the third string open. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. It's the G major scale with an F sharp. But playing it from its 6th step E, here's G, its 7th step. Remember, 1 and 8 are the same note, so this could also be 8, coming down to 7, and then to 6. If I play from 6 to 6 in the G major scale, it will make E Aeolian, because the mode on the 6th step of a major scale is Aeolian. So we have E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E for E Aeolian. Then if you play that but raise the 7th, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D sharp, E, you've created E harmonic minor in another way. In terms of the G major scale, that has raised its 5th step. If these were numbered in terms of G, this would be 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, sharp 5, 1. And again, in terms of E, it's comparing to the E major scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, 7, 1. Now I'll define chord and arpeggio. The most common method of constructing a chord is to use every other note of a scale. For instance, with this C major scale again, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. if I play every other note for 3 notes, C, E, G, skipping the D and F. C, E, and G are the first, third, and fifth steps of the C major scale and make a C major chord. If these 3 notes, C, E, G, are played at once, as they can be here, C, E, and the third string open G, that's a C major chord. And all of the around 80 different C major chord fingerings around the fretboard use the notes C, E, and G. They might be in various configurations, such as this one. First string open, second string, first fret, third string open, fourth string, second fret, fifth string, third fret, which has C, E, G, C, E, doubling a couple of the notes. Or this one, C, G, C, E, doubling the C. Or this one, C bar chord, C, G, C, E, G, C. Again, doubling some of the notes. Arpeggiating a chord would be playing it one note at a time, such as picking this chord with the string order 5, 3, 4, 2. Or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Or with a repeating pattern, irregular pattern, making what's called a Travis fingerpicking pattern. You're arpeggiating a chord with all of those. If you play, rather than a held chord and play one note at a time, if you play every possible note for a chord in a given area of the fretboard, you're playing the complete arpeggio. And when you are studying arpeggios, you generally would do that. You usually would, for an area of the fretboard, look at every possible arpeggio tone, every possible chord tone that could be played one note at a time in a given area, which would include on some strings, as we have here for the C chord, C, E, 2 notes on the same string. Here, C and E, C and E are on different strings, but here they're on the same string. So we'll find with all of the basic arpeggios, most of the notes in the chord can be played, most of the notes in the arpeggio, rather, can be played right in a chord fingering. With this one, for example, that's most of the notes, but there's also this note in the complete arpeggio, C, E, G, C, E, G, C, and this note, E. So there's a couple of notes to add to make the complete arpeggio. It's very useful to memorize the open string note names as a beginner, and to memorize the note names on strategic frets that have natural notes all the way across them. The open strings, from the largest through the smallest string, could be memorized with the first letter in each one of these words. Eat a darn good breakfast early. That's the 6th through 1st strings. Eat a darn good breakfast early. Here I'm just pointing to the string that I'm playing open. I'm not actually fretting anything, of course. Here, this is the nut, and this is the 1st fret, so I'm just pointing to E, A, D, G, B, E, open strings. And at the 5th fret, there's also natural notes. All dogs go crazy eating ants would be a good sentence to memorize those. And at the 10th fret, don't go crazy for a dog. Then at the 12th fret, the note names are the same as those for the open strings. Eat a darn good breakfast early. If you're playing popular styles that involve bar chords, then it's especially useful to memorize the names of the notes on the 6th and the 5th string to name your bar chords. The names of the notes on the 6th string from the open string through the 12th fret are E, F. E to F is 1 fret. G, A, B, each of those are 2 frets. C, B to C is 1 fret. D, C to D is 2 frets. E, D to E is 2 frets. And F, E to F. E is the 12th fret where the double dots are here. E to F is 1 fret. So it's E, F, and B, C that are 1 fret apart. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Then on the 5th string, the open string, by the way, could be thought of as fret 0. So from the open string on the 6th string, E to F would be a 1 fret interval. On the 5th string, from the open A to the 1st fret would be a 2 fret interval. A, B is 2 frets. Again, B to C is 1 fret. C to D is 2 frets. D to E is 2 frets. E to F is 1 fret. F to G is 2 frets. G to A is 2 frets, where the alphabet starts over. And then A to B again is 2 frets. Open position natural notes. Remember, the open string note names are E, A, D, G, B, E. I'm pointing to the string behind the nut, not fretting a note. This is the nut, and this is the 1st fret. So this is E open, A open, D open, G open, B open, E open. You can use the sentence, eat a darn good breakfast early, to memorize these. On each string, play the open string natural note, which would be fret 0, and then the next 2 notes above it alphabetically. E to F is 1 fret, and B to C is 1 fret. So here's E, F, open to 1st fret, and G on the 6th string, and then progress up to the 1st string, going upward in pitch. 5th, A, open, A to B is 2 frets, B to C is 1 fret. Then D open, 4th string open, D to E is 2 frets, E to F is 1 fret. Then G open, 3rd string G, G to A is 2 frets where the alphabet starts over, A to B is 2 frets. Then, as will often happen, the highest pitch note in a major scale fingering, as this will turn out to be, on the 3rd string is the same pitch as that on the 2nd string when you're playing 3 notes per string in a single position. This is B again. This was G, A, B on the 3rd string, now B on the 2nd string open, C on the 1st fret, D on the 3rd fret, B, C, D. B to C is 1 fret, D to E is 2 frets. Then first open E. Remember, it was eat a darn good breakfast early, so that's E to F is 1 fret, and F to G is 2 frets. So these are the natural notes E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, though we'll omit this one now. B is here, C, D, E, F, G. This does make a familiar scale if you play it from C to C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, as I played earlier on a single string, C, D, E, F, G, and so on, going up. These are now all in the 1st position. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C makes the C major scale. Any note in that scale played for 1 octave would create a scale, and the ones other than from C to C are called modes. For instance, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D creates the D Dorian mode. Dorian mode occurs on the 2nd step of any major scale by putting the tone center on the 2nd step. E through E is E Phrygian. So when you play this, be careful you don't make the mistake, as many people have, in trying to recall the scale by sound. and playing this, which is an E major scale. We're not playing this scale E major because it has sharps in it. E, F sharp, G sharp. We're playing all natural notes. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, which creates this scale from E to E called E Phrygian. But again, it's just the notes of the C major scale, all natural notes, called E Phrygian if you were to play it from E to E only, suggesting that that is the tone center E. Now, by showing you the roots or notes after which chords are named with one example for each letter, it can help you memorize the open position notes from a different perspective. Earlier we played E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G by calculating the distance from each open string to the next two notes alphabetically. Now for each of these chords, I'll show you where the roots are, the notes after which it is named, and that will help you memorize the notes another way. So here is A major, fingered either of these ways, or even with a bar, sometimes like this if you want to progress to this chord, but most practically probably like this, or for a quick one like this. This A major has A notes on the 5th string open and the 3rd string 2nd fret. So those are the roots of this chord, the A's. With a B chord, B7th chord, 5th string 2nd fret, and the 2nd string open are the B's. Each of these groups of 2 or 3 notes that have the same name, of course, are octaves apart in a scale. These are 8 notes apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So those are the B's and the B7th chord. Then the C's in the C chord, C major chord. Make an octave from C to C. And in the D chord, D to D, the 4th string open and the 2nd string 3rd fret. Then in the E chord, as with all 3 of the chords that include the 6th and 1st string in them, E, F, and G chords, there are 3 roots available. 6th string open, 4th string 2nd fret, and 1st string open, 3 octaves of E's. And then F's, up 1 fret from each of those. So the E's are here, open, 4th string 2nd, 1st string open for the E chord, and the F's are here. It's actually the same structure, everything moved up 1 fret, including the open strings. So the F's are here, 6th string 1st, 4th string 3rd, and 1st string 1st. Then the G's in the G chord are 6th string 3rd, 3rd string open, and 1st string 3rd. To review all of these, the A's were here, 5th string open, 3rd string 2nd fret. The B's were here, 5th string 2nd and 2nd string open. The C's were here, 5th string 3rd and 2nd string 1st frets. The D's were here, 4th string open and 2nd string 3rd fret. The E's were in 3 places, 6th string open, 4th string 2nd, and 1st string open. The F's in 3 places, 6th string 1st, 4th string 3rd, 1st string 1st. The G's in 3 places, 6th string 3rd, 3rd string open, 1st string 1st. that succession to memorize them and review them. This same succession of natural notes as we played in first position, E, F, G, A, B, C, can be played at the 12th position, where all of the note names at the 12th fret are the same as the open strings. Eat a darn good breakfast early. And rather than playing an open string on each string, play the 12th fret fretted with the first finger, then the next two notes alphabetically, which would give us, again, at the double dots, this is the 12th fret. This is E, then one fret to F, two frets to G, E, F, G. This is A, eat a darn good breakfast early. A to B is two frets, B to C is one fret. Next string, D, eat a darn good breakfast early. D to E is two frets, E to F is one fret. The next string, G, eat a darn good. G, A, B are each two frets. And again, on the second string, B, eat a darn good breakfast. Remember, as I said, notes will often duplicate. The third string highest pitch note is the same as the lowest pitch one on the second string. B to C is one fret, C to D is two frets, then the first string E to F is one fret, and F to G is two frets. So we get E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Omit this B and play B here, C, D, E, F, G. And we have a C major scale. Here's the C in the 5th string, 15th fret with the little finger, through C, 2nd string, 13th fret, 2nd finger. We have a C major scale. The lowest reachable pitch of that scale, if you continue on down in this position, though it could go on down to there, is the 3rd tone of the scale by number. This would be 1 or 8, C, and then B is 7, A is 6, G is 5, F is 4, and E is 3. So I number the major scale fingering patterns, this being one of them, by whichever numbered tone is the lowest in that major scale fingering pattern. This is scale tone 3, so we've just played C major scale fingering 3, since the E note is the lowest tone, and that is the 3rd note, C, D, E, of the C major scale. So this is fingering 3. Remember, from any note in that scale for one octave would create a mode. D to D creates D Dorian, or A to A creates A Aeolian, that being the mode on the 6th step of any major scale. Or G Mixolydian from G to G, mode on the 5th step of major scales. That one can fit in 2 octaves. Now natural notes in the 5th position. The notes at the 5th fret, remember, were all dogs go crazy eating ants, across from the largest to smallest string. And playing again the next 2 notes alphabetically above each one of those, we get A, B, C. B to C is 1 fret. Then D, E, F. E to F's 1 fret. G, A, B, each 2 frets. 3rd string, C, D, E, each 2 frets. And then E again, there's the high-pitched note on the 3rd string and the low-pitched note in the 2nd string, duplicated. E, F, G, E to F is 1 fret. And then the 1st string, A, B, C, B to C is 1 fret. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, omit this E, E, F, G, A, B, C. From A to A would be A Aeolian. From C to C, the origin of this scale would be the C major scale. From D to D, the second to second step of a major scale would be Dorian, D Dorian. But since in this fingering pattern, the lowest tone of the major scale is 6, this is 1 or 8, 7, then 6. This is C major scale fingering 6 as I number them. Now for 10th position natural notes. This is the 12th fret where the double dots are. And this is the 10th fret. At the 10th fret, the note names are Don't Go Crazy for a Dog, D, G, C, F, A, D. And again, playing the next two notes alphabetically above each one will create all natural notes for that position and one of the C major scale fingerings. This is D, E, F. E to F is 1 fret. G, A, B, each 2 frets. C, D, E, each 2 frets. F, G, A, each 2 frets. And there's that redundant A note, which can be more easily fingered here, where it reoccurs on the second string. A, B, C. B to C is 1 fret. And D, E, F. E to F is 1 fret. This makes all natural notes with D as the lowest pitch. So I number major scale fingering 2. This is C, D. So the C major scale could be played by adding this low C. And if played from D to D, would make a mode on the second step called D Dorian. With each of these octaves, sets of octaves of notes in the first position, the A and the B and the C and so on, they can be moved up an equal number of frets to make what's called an octave shape. So for instance, the E notes in the E chord, here, if all 3 are moved up 1 fret, they make the F notes. But the shape is the same. So it could be called E shape or E form. So now this shape that originated with the 3 E's is now 3 F's or 3 G's or 3 A's, but it's still the E shape or E form. So let's do that with each of these unique shapes. We'll find that out of those 7 letters, there are 5 unique shapes. As you just saw, the E and the F are the same shape, so I'll just call that the E shape, though in some situations you'd want to think of it as an F shape, but the E shape for now. And play all of these shapes transposed to the same chord. Let's say F. Okay. So we have the D shape is the next one that will fall into the pattern. The 4th string open D and the 2nd string 3rd fret D, if both moved up, let's say 2 frets, would be the 4th string 2nd fret and the 2nd string 5th fret, right? Because we had the 3rd fret here and then the 5th fret. D moves up 2 frets. And the 4th string open to the 2nd fret. That makes E notes, but they're in the D form. Illustrating the open string D with my finger touching behind the nut. Here's D and D, and then the same shape, E and E. So that's the D form octave. Now they're on E notes. If I move up 1 fret, E to F is 1 fret, so here I have F notes. They're in the D form. So now I have the E form for F notes that I've moved up from E notes. And now I have the D form for F notes. D, E, F, but the D form. Next, C moved up 2 frets would be Ds, and then 2 more frets is E's, 1 more fret is F. So here is F notes. Here are F notes in the C form. So now we have F notes in the E form, then in the D form, and then in the C form. And notice that as we build this, in each case the highest pitch note, or the one closest towards the guitar body, the highest pitch note in one form, if you're playing them all on the same note as I am with F's and F's, the highest note in one form, this one, will be part of the next form. Here's the D form F notes, and that note will be part of the next form. That's going to be part of the C form. And then the next form is the A form. Here we have the A chord with A and A, fifth string open to 3rd string, 2nd fret, and move those up 1 fret to A sharp, 1 more fret to B, B to C is 1 fret. Now we have C notes, D notes, up 2 frets, E notes, up 2 frets, and then 1 fret from E to F. So here's A form, F notes. Now we have E form, D form, C form, then A form. This note will be part of the next form, and that's the G form. With the open G chord, this was G, G open, and G here. 1st string, 3rd, 6th string, 3rd, and 3rd string open. Move those up 1 fret. We have 2 frets. We have A notes. 2 more frets to B, 1 fret to C, 2 frets to D, 2 frets to E, 1 more fret. We have G form F notes. That was G, A, B, C, D, E, F. And now putting the forms together of F notes, E form F notes, then D form, then C form, A form, then G form. Now these 2 highest notes in the G form will be part of the E form where it starts over. Here was the E form down here, and here it is 12 frets higher. And those 2 notes of it are also part of the G form that preceded it as we were going up. E, D, C, A, G forms, and then it repeats again with the E form. In around 1960, no, let's say 1972, something like that, I was at Berkeley Community Theater watching Joe Pass give a seminar. And he referred to the sequence of these forms as caged, C-A-G-E-D, C-A-G-E-D. In the manner I just presented them, they are in the order E, D, C, A, G, and then start over at E again. It's important to realize that they do start over, that the pattern will repeat. In fact, beyond this E form of F notes, there's another D, C, A, G, so on, spelling EDCAGE. I was showing this to my friend Tony Perez in, I think, 1976, and had them on a piece of paper we were both viewing, and he pointed out, oh, those are EDCAGE, and I was involved in what I was doing, and I said, what do you mean? I just looked at the page, and there it is, EDCAGE. So ever since then, I've called them EDCAGE. I like that as the focal point of the system because the lowest pitch reachable with the first finger is the beginning of this first form, the E form. If you're playing, for instance, in the key of F, the most basic place to play would be here, and secondly, maybe here, the A form. So you could look at the system as EDCAGE with E, D, C, A, G, E, or you could start the forms with any one of the letters. Starting at D, it spells EDCAGE, like Dennis Cage's name when abbreviated. The forms are D and then C, A, G, E, EDCAGE. Starting with C form for the F notes, and I'll be going way up the neck. It's caged, like Joe Pass mentioned. C, A, G, E, D. Forms of F notes still. And with A as the tone center, it's aged C, A-G-E-D, C, like the type of vitamin C that you would not like. You wouldn't want old vitamin C, but this is aged C. So the F forms, the forms of F notes, starting with A form would be A, G, E, D, C. Now in other keys, they wouldn't go that far up the neck, or it would be difficult to illustrate them to people. For instance, for the key of C, caged is C, A, G, E, D, and goes back to C. Or for the key of whatever, we didn't do G, let's do the key of A here. And the forms we need in the order G, E, D, C, A. Okay, General Education Diploma from the state of California, a GED, CA. G, E, D, C, A forms. G, E, D, C, A. Those are the order of forms. If you started on the G form, I'm on A notes, but it's the forms G, E, D, C, A. It might be of some benefit to look at that you could start on any one of the forms and go through the other ones, so that no matter what form you're on in a particular key, if I'm playing here in the key of A, I would want to think that's in G form, and I'd also want to know what it's going to go to next, so I can find the A notes as I go up the neck. And you'd want to do this with any note. For instance, again, C here, caged, C, A, G, E, D, so I could go up the neck and know which forms to expect next. And with this octave system, you can categorize all the scales and chords and melodies even that you memorize, so that you can recall them for the guitar in whichever key you're in, and be able to play both all keys in one position if you need to. For instance, if I wanted to remember a C chord here, it's in the A form because the C notes are here, or a C scale, C mixolydian, that's in the A form. Or if I wanted to play this melody here, that's in the E form, because I'm building on this G chord, which is in the E form. Or if I was playing this chord here, it's between forms. That's D root, and it's in between the C form and the A form. So sometimes things are between forms. C form, A form. But it's very useful to memorize, start memorizing your chord fingerings and scale fingerings and melodies, as I say, in relation to what the octave shape is. If you want to play up here in F, where's the F? Okay, now where are the other Fs? If you know the octave shape, boom, they come right to you. A form Fs. If you want to play here in G, okay, G's there. So there's the octave, it's in a C form. And if you want to play in one key, and be able to move from one position to another, you need to be able to categorize your licks and think where the tone centers are. You know, this lick is going from E form up into D form. And after a while, the letters don't mean so much as the shapes. You won't be thinking while you're playing the letter D. You'll just be thinking, you know, it's here. Like, these are the G notes. If I'm playing this lick in G, these are where the G notes are. And that's the way it works. It may help you to visualize the octaves by thinking of them in some sort of a graphic pattern. All of the octaves for the A note, for example, from here to here, where the octave forms are in G form and then E form, D form, C form, A form, starting on the G form and going up, form this shape I call the diamond and Z. So this is the G form of A notes, and this is the E form of A notes. Again, here's the E's, moved up to F's, and then G's, and then A's. So there's the E form of A notes, and this was the G form of A notes, originating with G notes, G, 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 now A, and put those together, and they make sort of an offset diamond shape. It's from here to here to here to here. It's offset diamond shape. And then continuing on up, they go through the D form, and then the C form, and then the A form, and then the whole thing will start over with the diamond shape up here. So I refer to this as the diamond and Z. So here's the A notes in the diamond form. And then continuing on up here, we have the C form with these two notes. Excuse me, the D form with these two notes, and the A form with these two. And then finally with this note, the A form. So A form here, C form here, and D form here. So that last part makes a Z shape across here to here to here. Imagine that line drawn there, making sort of a distorted Z shape. So this whole thing is the diamond and the Z. That's a visualization of the whole fretboard, all the occurrences of one note in its repeating patterns. Here's A through A. I'm on the 3rd string, 14th fret. A through A. And then that whole thing would repeat. And whatever key you're in, this diamond part would be in a different place. If you're in C, the diamond part would be here, because it's where the G and the E forms are. G form C notes here, E form C notes here, making the diamond. Now major scale fingerings to illustrate each octave of the A note. Here's the diamond and Z shape of A notes. And first for this, the G form octave. There's a low octave and a high octave. In the low octave, this major scale fingering. And in the high octave, in each case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 notes through a major scale make an octave. Then the high octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then for the next octave shape, the E form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, making the low octave. And the high octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then the D form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, 8 notes making an octave. the C form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. C form octave. Then the A form octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then this would repeat from the beginning the G form octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 7 octave fingerings on the guitar. This is the primary octave fingering, and this is the secondary octave fingering. I'll explain why. The primary octave fingering skips 1 fret and 1 string, so to speak. The fret numbers are 2 frets apart, and the string numbers are 2 frets apart. It's the same on strings 6, 4, and 5, 3, but on strings 4, 2, since relative to the lower strings, the 2 smallest strings are tuned 1 fret low, caused by them being tuned at the 5th fret on the lower strings, then 3rd string, 4th fret to 2nd string open, tunes the 2nd string flat by 1 fret relative to the lower strings. Then the 2nd and 1st string are tuned the same as the lower ones. As a result, the first 2 strings are both tuned flat by 1 fret. So this octave, when moved to strings 4 and 2, needs to have the 2nd string compensated by moving the note up 1 fret. Also, strings 3 and 1, again, the first 2 strings are flat, so relative to the lower strings. So the first string needs to be compensated and moved up 1 fret. So these are the primary octave fingerings, and then the primary octave fingerings compensated here. And the secondary octave fingering moves the note on the 4th string, in this case, back 5 frets. Since on each pair of strings with the lower strings, the note on any particular fret is duplicated down 5 frets. This note on the 7th fret, subtract 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the 2nd fret of the 3rd string is the same note. Since we tune at the 5th fret, there's a 5 fret differential. Add 5 frets to any note on the next larger string, and it's the same note, except between strings 2 and 3, where there's a 4 fret differential. So this is the primary octave, and moving this note here from the 4th string, 7th fret to the 3rd string, 2nd fret, you get the secondary octave fingering. Then moving that straight down 1 string from 6th and 3rd strings to 5th and 2nd strings. The note on the 2nd string has to be compensated, moved up 1 fret. This is 5th and 2nd strings. And the notes on the note on the 1st string, when playing strings 4 and 1, the note on the 1st string has to be compensated, moved up 1 fret. So with these, the secondary octave fingerings, there are 3 frets between them and 3 strings between them, or 2 empty frets, you could say, and 2 empty strings between these. Then when you move them here, there's 2 empty strings, but only 1 empty fret between them for this and this. That makes 7 octave fingerings in all. The 7 octave fingerings I went over earlier, these 4 primary ones and 3 secondary ones, can be combined to make octave shapes. This secondary octave between A's and this primary octave between A's, remember the primary ones were shaped like this. So this primary one between A's and this secondary one between A's combined makes the G form octave shape. and this primary one between A and A here, 6th and 4th string, combined with the secondary one here. Remember, the secondary ones went like this, and then were compensated here and here. This secondary one and this primary one combined to make the E-form octave shape, E-form octave shape. Then this primary octave shape, which is compensated, they would come down like this and have to be compensated on the 2nd string, makes the D-form octave. And this secondary compensated one makes the C-form octave, the secondary octaves being like this, and then compensated by moving up on the 2nd string here. And then last, the A-form octave is a primary octave shape. So again, we have the G-form is a secondary octave here, and a primary compensated octave here. The E-form is a primary octave here, and a secondary compensated octave here. And the D-form is a compensated primary octave, and the C-form is a compensated secondary octave fingering, and the A-form is a primary octave fingering. In any case, you can see that these single octave fingerings can combine to make the G-form and the E-form, and then the rest of the octave forms are just a single octave fingering. The octave shapes can also be thought of by number. Here again are the octave shapes for A in the diamond and Z pattern with the G form, the E form, D form, C form, and A form, which of course could be moved to any note. Here they're on A's, and here they're on B's. But on A's, each of these forms, the G form, could also be identified by number. This is 631. So you could say this is the 631 octave shape or octave form, G form or 631 form. Then this E form is the 641. Each one of these numbers is unique. Then the D form is a 4-2. The C form is a 5-2, and the A form is a 5-3.